number 78 of the Professor Slots podcast discusses how your state is special, just like every other state. Plus, in this episode, I'll be covering the current state of slot machine casino gambling in the great U.S. state of Louisiana. Thank you for joining me for the Professor Slots podcast show. I'm John Friedel, and this is the podcast about slot machine casino gambling. It is where I provide knowledge, insights, and tools for helping you improve your slot machine gambling performance. In case you missed it, on my last episode, I went over what we should call ourselves, along with a Q&A session during my live streaming on YouTube. Further, I reviewed Kansas and Kentucky slot machine casino gambling in 2020. I hope you enjoyed listening to my last episode as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Remember to visit ProfessorSlots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. Here's the audio recording of my latest live Q&A session. Hi, Denise. Hi, Steve. Hi, Lois. TX Tootsie, I'm trying to remember, is that Jane? Larry? Yes. Okay. Thank you for the confirmation. I am trying a few things that are a little bit new. I had some feedback, shall we say, constructive criticism last time, which was my audio is a little bit low. So it should not be low anymore. Partly that's why I'm wearing my headsets now, is to monitor the volume and make sure I don't turn away from the mic and then you can't hear me just like I just did. That way that should be better. Sound should be better. Right. And also last time there was a lot more chat. Every time I do a live Q&A session, the chat gets more and more and more. And I've been learning how to handle more and more and more chat during the live session. And before I used to just, respond to everybody and say hello as they came in, but that's becoming unfeasible at the moment. So at the beginning of the show, the structure I have now is to say hello to the people that are first here before we get going with the show. And I already said hello to a few. Philly, good to see you. And or good to chat with you, and hopefully we can move through this a little bit. So I'll check back in the chat in a little while. I wanted to cover some of the things I got distracted about last time, and the theme today, I'll get to chat, and I'm trying to make it half talking about the things people are interested in that I've found, and maybe half or a little bit less, we'll see, on just straight up Q&A, because that's really what this is all about. My other videos on YouTube are pre-recorded and, polished and scripted, actually, so I can get all the details correct. And, I'll be doing more and more of those. I tried it out, thought about it, and now I'm going to be trying some more. But these live Q&As are really about just getting feedback, getting your questions and trying to answer them. But I have questions left over from last time, so I will try to get to a lot of that, and probably a long-winded answer, and probably I'll just get to it. But make sure you comment, and we'll come back to those. Thanks, Joseph. See, I'm already starting to do it. So one of the things that I started but didn't finish last time, and Denise understands this, was the questions, the concerns people have about Oklahoma. I have 56 Facebook private groups. That means nobody can share, nobody can use a Facebook sharing feature. Nobody knows you're there except the other members that are there. And people seem to enjoy that. And my largest group is Oklahoma. Not by much, but it is the largest group. Washington is also huge. And I have some concerns of what it's going to get to be like when there's hundreds more than there is now. I think Oklahoma's approaching 200 people, and pretty lively. Washington's close to that. And you have to think about what happens when it's 1,000, and it's going to be just endless scrolling of questions, which is a little harder to handle, but I'll worry about that when it arrives. Good problem to have. So last time I got a question about, some discussion points about Oklahoma. And what I realized in this last week is there's actually 3 states that the slots communities are asking questions about. I've written a lot of articles, not as many as I need to, but a lot, 70-ish articles on my webpage, professorslots.com, as you probably already know. Maybe I'll type that in just to make sure people do know where my page is. And when you look at that, you'll see, I answered a lot of the common questions. And now I'm getting uncommon questions. And I do need to write more common answers to common questions as I learn more and more what people are interested in as the technology comes out. But there's some uncommon questions, which aren't, in several ways I've been seeing that they're the future. And the 3 states I'd like to talk about today we're all unique. Please don't think, you're special just like everybody else. But there are 3 states where I'm getting questions, and it's a little bit not, they don't exactly have traditional slot machines, if there is such a thing. There sort of is. The state of Washington, not Washington, D.C., but the state of Washington, Pacific Northwest, Oklahoma, and Kentucky. There's some interesting things going on in Kentucky, which the reason why you might be interested in this is they're doing things that more or less you will find in other states or will eventually find in other states. Kentucky is a test case for a certain type of slot machine, which isn't a slot machine. They are legally required. I went down to Kentucky yesterday, and I have an article that I'm working on and podcast and all that, but I don't want to, tell you everything here. I'll save most of the good stuff for later. But there are a few things going on there. I had a chance to talk to a floor manager for almost an hour at Derby City Gaming in Louisville, on the Kentucky side of the border, where they have HHR machines. HHR machines are historic horse racing machines, and they're not slot machines. They cannot use slot machine terms. The employees of the casino cannot use slot machine terms. They have to use pari-mutuel racing. That's horse racing, dog racing, pari-mutuel wagering terms. So there's a handle, and there's a pari-mutuel pool and other terms that are used instead of the equivalent in slot machine terms, because the gaming regulations are actually based off the rules for horse racing in Kentucky. I don't think they have any dog racing, and high-lie and other things that are based on pari-mutuel wagering, where you have win, place, and show. So, I'll just touch on that for just a moment because it's really fresh on my mind, and because of the article and that I'm working on and podcasting, etc. They have these machines which are based on historic horse races, and there were several things I didn't know about this. I checked online for a lot of stuff, but being so close, I'm like, I got to walk into the casino and talk to somebody, and talk to several people. And I did. I went down to Derby City Gaming, in Louisville, and I went over to Lexington, a couple hours to the east, Lexington, Kentucky, and went to, Red Mile, which is the site where they have HHR machines, which is associated a few miles from Keeneland, which you may have heard of. Is that where they have the Kentucky Derby, or is it where they have one of the Preakness? No, it's not Preakness. Anyway, it's a huge horse racing course, world famous. If you don't know the name, you've seen the races there, over the years. So HHR, is based on horse races, and it's convoluted. For instance, when I was at Red Mile, I saw a poker machine and a keno machine. Video poker, video keno. And it was actually based on these horse races. So they can be pretty flexible. It's pretty sophisticated stuff. And, what the first gentleman that I talked to for almost an hour, the floor manager at Derby City Gaming, was telling me is that they're a test case. They're a test case for having these types of games in other states. I guess, they're not really skill-based games. They're not really, class 2 skill-based games. They might be possibly considered that, but it's not a tribal casino, so it's not really that. It's really pari-mutuel racing. It's almost like a third category. Class 3 Las Vegas games of chance, class 2 tribal casino, games of skill, and then there's historic horse racing. So, any case, what I wanted to mention here is that it's a test case, very sophisticated stuff. You wouldn't notice a difference when you're playing. There's small differences. If you play a lot of slots, you might notice some differences, but they're very subtle, and like how to win and things. But it's pretty fascinating. And they tell me that they are working to have this everywhere. You don't have to have pari-mutuel racetracks with history in your state, because the horse races they use are actually from all over the country. I don't know how many decades to go back, but there's a lot of records going back 100 years or more. So, all you really need is to know, 8 horses or so, in a race, and which one came in first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. And that's all you need in order to build these systems. So there's a lot of history. And, so you don't have to have pari-mutuel wagering racetracks history in your state in order to start getting these. And so they're testing them out in Kentucky, and you might see them later. So that's really what I wanted to say about Kentucky, more later. And I think wherever you might be, these things might start showing up. Now, the second thing I wanted to mention was, let's see, Washington or Oklahoma. First person to say Washington or Oklahoma in the chat, I'll do that one. By the way, in the chat, why don't you let us all know which state you're in? Because, as you know, slot machine gambling is based on state gaming regulations, or tribal gaming compacts, and it's very state specific. So, please, if you have a moment, put in the chat which state you're in. I know where a few of you are, but maybe the others would need to know where you're at, because this can matter. For instance, are you in Kentucky? Are you in Oklahoma? Not having heard, Washington. Okay. Washington I'll go next on Washington. Washington is, I don't know of a better word for the tribal gaming, or there's only tribal gaming in the state of Washington. I don't know a better word for playing slot machines in Washington other than perfect. The gaming regulations in Washington are well thought out, fair, and there's nothing casinos can do to, have these kinds of business practices that we take advantage of. It's perfect. And, everything is blocked. I mean, you can do money management, you can do other things, but as players, we look for loopholes to take advantage of, either in the state gaming regulations. Maybe they tell us in advance certain things. Return statistics last week in Nevada can tell you if, it's been consistently high payout, then maybe that's the type of machine you want to try to find in one of the, regions like downtown or the Strip. And by golly, Washington, I am full of admiration. Now, it makes my job harder. The point I'm trying to make here is there are people in Washington playing slots who are not happy. And the reason they're not happy is it's perfect. That's my opinion. And, having looked everything over, they, well thought out, clear, real preventative on letting any individual casino try to make slots, slot machines near the door or near busy areas, winners, they have no control. They made a second lottery, called a tribal lottery system. And that is where all of the slot machines are remotely controlled by Washington, but where slot machines in Washington are controlled. And they aren't owned by the business. The tribal lottery system isn't owned by the business, casinos. So there's no way they have access to that. And it just makes it all really fair. And everything's under 100%, and there's no real winning strategies other than the old stuff, from before these systems that were put in place. And this is basically what I have been saying on the Washington slots community, I don't know if I've used the word perfect before. That's kind of like a recent thought, but certainly a feeling I've had for a while. And this is a problem for people in Washington to not have these loopholes, because you can go into a casino like you could have 8 years ago, almost any casino, but as they're being modernized, there's fewer and fewer, now that they have central computers and all that. And some of the ones that are slowest to upgrade are the riverboats in Indiana and Iowa and other locations where you can't put a bunch of wires under the floor because that's water. It's a hull, at least a barge. And, there's no real way to upgrade them with all that wiring, that infrastructure. But a lot of other casinos are now modern, given how long it's been. And, the use that these casinos go through, just people walking through them deteriorates it. And 8 years is a long time, even if it was brand new in 2011. It's been almost 9 years. These places wear out. So there's not many of those left except for the riverboat casinos that can't be upgraded. And, when you look at these, in Washington, and these limitations, you have to think in terms of the old style casinos. What is it that I'm trying not to look at chat as you guys chat? I'll come back to it. Thank you for all the replies. However, money management skills. And this is really the point about Washington and Kentucky and Oklahoma, mostly Washington and Oklahoma though, is don't give up hope. Okay. I've had people in either one of those who probably haven't gambled in another state or haven't gambled much in another state or haven't investigated another state as much as they have their own state where they usually gamble. And they think other places are better. And some, maybe there's more information. Question is it better? I think there's a lot, as I share how the gaming regulations work, how the casino business practices work, how the tribal, state tribal compacts are put together. As I share this information and more people get involved, it's all new. But then a few months go by and they're like, okay, now that I know, what does this mean? What could we get? What could we want? And last time I mentioned about, a revolution, too strong of a term, but, a voting block, a lobby group. Occasionally today I got reached out by somebody in Northwest, Kansas who is into casino development activities in that part of the state. And, this is a gaming analyst, a gaming professional. I don't want to say professional. I want to say someone who works in gaming to help build casinos, casinos built. And they just wanted to see what, Kansas, slots players' opinion were about, casinos. And I very rarely 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000, people who contact me are these working professionals, asking. So, I told her, I think the best thing that she might want to consider, yes, she's welcome, to join the group and, and et cetera. But, does she know about Oklahoma? I know it's on the other side of the state to the southern border of Kansas is Oklahoma. But by golly, there's a real opportunity to build a Kansas casino on the border, on the Kansas side of the border to Oklahoma. I know there are a few, but there's still opportunities. There's people in Oklahoma who are fed up and they're looking for options. Same is true for, Texas. Now, Texas has got some politics in play. There actually is no, I think it was Denise that told me that there's no, maybe it was somebody else on southern Texas, who says there's no gambling income tax for the state, for Texas. And so the state governors, state senators, state representatives for Texas, won't have gambling income unless that changes, and they're pretty stuck on in not having that. So you look at these themes, you look at these development activities, and I just want to, I want to say, have hope. Okay, a lot of other places are worse. Oklahoma's really going through something right now with all these. Yeah. I finally understood that TX Tootsie was not text Utsi, but Texas Tootsie. I'm so sorry. You try to pronounce these titles. It's cool. So have hope. There are still things you can do. Just because Mississippi has, I think Mississippi has the regions of the state, and then the payout return statistics pretty like monthly by slot machine denomination. I'm happy to tell people in Mississippi that it exists, and that have they ever looked at it, and what are the rules, and make use of this and all that, and they're like surprised. So many people I've met who don't play slots a lot, and maybe and a few that do, like in Pennsylvania and Ohio, that there's a payout return limit, and they're like, really? Because they thought it was 5%. The players got returned 5%. And I'm trying to explain, no, that would never fly. It's rarely below 80%, limit, and rarely drops below 85% for the law. Otherwise no one would go to a casino because it would be flat out crazy. Just take your money, and no one wants that. So the casinos return 80, 85, 90% of what they take in, most places. And you can probably bet on that, even when there is no theoretical payout limit. Pardon the pun on betting on that, but in Oklahoma, there is no theoretical payout limits. There's also no return statistics, so you don't know what happened in the last week or month or year as far as what the return was to the players and the percentage that return to the players. But I want, even though you don't have that, the hope that you should have here is based on this, which is, all the terrible things that I'm hearing about from Oklahoma as far as losing, except for a few places and stuff. If that were indeed true, the businesses won't survive. Just because the tribal casinos can reduce the payout return, doesn't mean that it's a good idea to drop it very far. A couple of points, may have all they've done. They may have dropped it to 80%, 78%. I don't think so, but 78%. And suddenly the whole state's in uproar. All the slots players in the state is in uproar because, that's not a good business practice. Unhappy customers. Hundreds of them, maybe even thousands of them, all at once in all the casinos, or, there's over 108 casinos in Oklahoma, largest of any, state. I know some of them are kind of like a convenience store, but not many. And, there's actually more than 108, and I basically didn't count, convenience stores. And so you've got a lot of people playing slots in Oklahoma. And do you really want to, I won't use the word I just thought of to use for this. Do you really want to upset, shall we say, upset, 1,000 people, 2,000 people in your casino? Is that wise? Both because of the anger, but also, and all that might come from that, at the casino site, but also the word of mouth that'll get around, which could take a decade to fix. And that's going to cost money. So yes, we could say that the tribal casinos are, lowering the odds to try to make a buck this year, but it's not like they can make themselves eligible to be sold. It's a tribal casino. The tribe will always own it. It's not like a commercial casino that can make themselves attractive to a buyer and have a big payday, for their investors, which is typical plan actually, for, commercial casinos, but not at all for tribal casinos. So they're playing with fire by upsetting that many people. So there is hope. All right. I have a money management article, that does say, check the state gaming regulations. If you have anything that helps along those lines, of course you want to check, but for the rest, those states that don't have that, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Washington, that's not really, the end of it. Grass is always greener, right? On the other side of the fence, on the other side of the state border, maybe, but maybe not. And you work with what you got. And I'm happy to share that what I know about what you have. And then we are progressing from that starting point. Excuse me. We are progressing from that starting point to, what about this? What about that? Oh, that's new. Yeah. So let me check in. It's about 25 minutes. I'm going to check in to see with comments. Feel free to comment. There's a bunch of hellos here. And Rachel, Bernardi, Washington. Yep. Steve, Wisconsin. Yep. Thanks, Rachel. TX Tootsie, Texas. Joseph, California. Lois Tilston, Tisdale. At Lois and Dave. I never know which one is which, and all the emails. These are family friends of my father. And we've met and had lunch and et cetera, and photos. Did you guys ever send me that group photo that my father took, when we were having lunch? I don't know that I ever got that. I have and used the one with my father that you took. Thank you. But I don't know that you ever emailed me our photos. But yes, they're in Florida, part of the year in Ontario, the rest of the year, which makes for some interesting, individual problems. There are people, I know we have Larry on as well. Did I miss you, Larry, there at the beginning? You're like the third comment. Larry from the UK, 7 p.m., getting towards 7:30 p.m. And I'm going to sit back and let me educate you. Well, we'll educate each other. And if you are from the outside of the United States, as Larry had mentioned before, sometimes you come inside of the United States and let's say you win a big jackpot. What's the rules? How does Britain get its taxes? What does the casino need to do? Or is there any taxes? So there's a lot to figure out for people coming from, Ontario, from Canada, or further away. And how does that work as far as, what if you win money? You can spend money, but if you win money, that's the problem, because sometimes you're visiting under the, you come in through customs. I don't know how many people here have traveled internationally, but you come in through customs, or you do your taxes, and perhaps you've seen the question of, have you made any money in another country? Or are you here for business reasons or for fun when you come into a country under your customs form? Well, are you there for business reasons if you make $60,000 jackpot, as somebody mentioned before? Sure, I was having fun gambling and I won money. Well, technically you made money, so the IRS might think that you're working. That gets to be kind of, gee, how do you answer that question? And so you might regularly visit the United States and you might have a visa. And that visa may say you're only allowed this much income. And so I haven't quite worked out all those details. It's a little personal to ask people about, so how's this working for you? But maybe there's something, it's one of the things I need to look at when I do go more international, is try to understand what happens if you are from another country and you win a big jackpot. How does that work through customs? Plenty of things I don't know, honestly. Carol, New York. Okay, great. And Wise Virgin, Richard. Yes, we all know that you're going to Cherokee, North Carolina today. You're on your way. Last time we had someone who was on a bus and they arrived at their destination and they're like, well, I have to go. And we're like, go. Well, don't be here. You're in a casino. Go. Richard, if you, Wise Virgin, if you arrive at Cherokee, North Carolina, just let us know or not. And we will say goodbye. And continue for a little bit. Denise, Texas playing Oklahoma. A lot of people do. So you probably don't go very far into Oklahoma. You're probably close to the border. And those casinos are set up for people coming from Texas. That's their central focus. It's convenient to people in Texas. I get so many messages. I ask everybody when they join a club, join the slots community, what's your favorite casino? And a lot of people, the answer that I like is I don't have a favorite casino. Because you go to casinos where you win. But then a lot of people come back and say, well, I don't know if necessarily a favorite casino, but then there's the one closest to me and it's not bad. So let's call that my favorite casino. And that's been true for me as well. If it's convenient, that counts for a lot. Let's see. All right. Maggie. Hi, Maggie. Jingwalk. Hi, John. Chris from Minnesota, here again this week. Glad to have you. Anybody have particular questions before I continue on my rant? I am here for you. I had some things I wanted to say about, and I have, about Washington, Oklahoma, Kentucky, about as perhaps you didn't hear me earlier, but you're all special, right? Just like everybody else. But there are some interesting problems I'm digging into in Kentucky that I thought was, applicable everywhere. Is it going to be 5 years? Is it going to be 3 years, more or less, where you might find HHRs as an option in your state? And wouldn't that help Washington? Wouldn't that help Oklahoma to have these type of machines under these different gaming rules? In any state that already has pari-mutuel wagering, it would be a short putt to have those. Right. Chris says, thanks for posting the 2018 Minnesota. You're welcome. One of the things that I was a little hesitant about, let me finish reading this. I have a question or two in that post, and we'll get that up later. Yeah. Anytime. One of the things that I haven't done much of in about the last 2 weeks was I was trying something in January, which was, I don't want spam on any of the Facebook slots communities, but I thought I would post, I didn't post even my own stuff, for a month or two. And then I realized, you are asking, and so I should provide. So I've just tried every couple of days, in January to provide a post, that might be relevant, might not be relevant, but it's all slots. And maybe you never visit Las Vegas and don't need to know about that one. Maybe you do. Maybe you considered it and didn't know about, how do you prepare? And so I've been sharing, every couple of days, up until about 2 weeks ago, these posts. And I think I'm getting a lot of positive response. I didn't want to inundate people. It's a little simpler, a little easier, not as bad as like every 2 days to send you an email. That really does, that is too much. And, but apparently not on a Facebook post to a community that you've joined. Yeah. So, I will get back to that. Try not to do too many, maybe one a day, or maybe I'll do it later one today. I did one for the live Q&A, but then, maybe later today I'll do another one. I try to put up something every couple of days, including when I post. So yes, every slots community, 56 of these, I went through arduously. I might add, it was not easy. Just Facebook giving me a hard time. Every slot community, all 56, got their post for their state. And so, ask questions if you have questions. I often will take a note of your question, drop it into my folder for the next time I'm going to review that state. And I do one per week. It takes about 13 months to do one per week, 56 weeks, right? And I will change it up after I go through the whole year, or a whole 13 months, all 56. I'll change it up and add stuff that people ask about. Like you might ask something for Minnesota, and then I go, what a great idea to do it on 56, 55 other posts. And so I started incorporating things. Thank you, Denise. Texas Tootsie, where are the 5-cent slots? I don't see any that are designated as such. Are they on the multi-denominational machines? I found an interesting feature in North Kansas City at the Harrah's. It was a riverboat casino. These are non-wired slot machines, but they have an excellent, that's a lot of wiring, so that's why they can't do it. But they have the most modern kiosk I'd seen. Why don't you look for the kiosk? I'd seen that they had very high payout returns on, it was a 5-cent, 5-cent slot machines. And I thought, I could find 5-cent slot machines. Was it 8? Might have been 4. I have some notes on that. Might have been 4 slot machines that were 5-cent denomination, and they had extraordinarily high payout returns. And I thought, I'm going to be in the city for this other reason. I think I'll swing by and see if I can find them. And you know what I did? And there were all 4 of them. They were roulette machines. automatic roulette machines, and they were sitting together. They were like a cluster where people could sit and watch it in the center, just one wheel turning in the center. And I couldn't, I walked in and I was like, okay, how do I find these? They could be anything. I don't know if they're roulette or not. So I went and talked to a slot attendant, and she took me over to the kiosk. And the kiosk had a floor map. You could search for 5-cent denomination, 10-cent denomination, and it would you could put in the name of the machine, and it would come back with a map, and it would have the location identified on the map. See if your kiosk can tell you where the 5-cent slots are. The other way to do this, which I found very successful, is ask a slot attendant. They may have to go find the manager in charge of the slot machines, maybe call them on the radio, but then that's how you find them. If you, in one casino, if you want to know where they are in any casino, there's not a lot of information on that. You can call the 800 number for the casino. I've successfully done that and asked them questions. Total number of slot machines is usually what I ask. And, they'll connect you to, usually a very tired person who I think is moving around heavy equipment a lot, like slot machines, in and out, back and forth, paperwork, who will, in a weary expert voice, will almost have it memorized where that one is. It was pretty, they call the operator and they'll connect you during normal business hours, etc. Okay. So Emery 101. So I may be going to the casino tonight or tomorrow, perhaps both. Any tips for Seminole Hard Rock Casino I should watch out for? Preferable time. I don't know about the Seminole Hard Rock Casino, but I do know about another Seminole casino, and this is the same casino operator. So you should take a look at the article that I wrote for Seminole Casino Brighton. You can go to my website. I think there's a search feature. Let me pull it up quickly for you and just give you the keyword list. Let's see here. Oh, there it is. Seminole Brighton Casino, Florida trip report. And if you go there, I'll put the link in the chat here. But it is, just to say it out loud for, I've neglected to say hello to the people listening on the podcast at a later time. Hello, everybody, who's listening later, either on YouTube or on the podcast. Welcome. Okay. So professorslots.com/Seminole-Brighton-Casino. So Seminole-Brighton-Casino. And if what I found there works at any Seminole, then that's a good one. This is the Hard Rock, Tampa, right? That's a new casino, right? There was already something there, I believe. Is that the one with the big guitar? The hotel that looks like the base of the base of the guitar. If that's the case, I wonder how that would work, because, it's not a new casino, right? There was a casino there, and the casino there built a bigger casino. Or was it just the hotel? These are little details that matter, because when a site builds a new casino, when there was already one there, it's basically either a renovation of the old casino or it's an entirely new casino. Either way, it costs a lot of money, and a lot of investors want to get their money back. So often, as we've discussed elsewhere in individual locations on different slots communities, et cetera, in emails, they want their money back sooner rather than later. Sometimes they're willing to wait a few months, but see if it's a decent casino and let us know in the Florida slots community. Preferable times. It's all, I wrote articles about this. I've found some casinos have the business practice of coming in, of having a big event. Like the two places I was at yesterday, it was Valentine's Day, right? And one place didn't have anything for Valentine's Day that I could spot, and another one had a big event. Dinner sold out, things up all over the place. And so what is happening at that casino? What's a big event? Sure, national holidays, are one thing, but, guest at the event center? Does it have an event center? Is a Major League Football game or something going on? What about right after? What's the casino planning? And I've found that some casinos, not all of them, this isn't about being lucky. This is about what the casino's doing, and you have to figure it out. Have a time early the next morning, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock's almost too late, a.m., where they balance things. And I've talked about that before elsewhere. I have to consider how much I go into these things when I mentioned it before, and you can just look it up. That's an interesting thing. That's an opportunity, but you only have to do it once to find out whether or not that casino does it. Maybe twice, just to confirm. If you see people winning jackpots that early in the morning, then that casino does it. If you don't, they don't. And do it twice just to confirm that you weren't unlucky on that one day. And that's the best time to go to a casino. It's all very individualized. Okay. That's Emory. Lois, live Q&A, good way for all states to come together in one venue. Well, yes and no. It is a way for everybody to come together, but I also have, a 57th Facebook, community, a group called Professor Slots Enthusiasts, which is meant for everybody to come together there. So that's constant. That's always on. And that's the other venue where it's not just an hour for once a week. Let's see. Now I have to keep on thinking about how to grow, whether that's going to be sufficient for, do I have a slots community for every state or every country? I don't know. I have to think about how to expand eventually. Maggie, a huge thank you, for all the great information that you have compiled to help make slot machine gambling a better experience. You have made my research very enjoyable. Well, you're welcome, Maggie. I knew a lot of this, having figured it out. And I think my big decision was deciding to share it. I think that's, I should talk about my story more often, not about the winning and not exactly how I learned. That's what this book is. Tucked it away. That's what this book is, Learning to Win, available on Amazon. And as soon as I finish editing the audiobook, that'll be there too. But, my decision to start the business was because I have massive student loans. You can see the degrees behind me on the wall behind me, right? 8 of them. The top row is graduate degrees. The center one is a PhD, mostly in engineering and physics. Second row is bachelor's degrees, engineering and physics, and then some associate's degrees, mathematics and other things. Along the bottom row, because, first degree in the family, wanted to celebrate that before I transferred to university. And, and the student loans to go with them. And those student loans are like a thorn in my side. And I thought, I've been looking for an idea, something where I can help people, because that's what I do. I like to teach and have taught. I didn't make a career out of it. I just did it a lot. And I thought this all kind of come together for me so I can do something with those student loans, because while I'll probably work until I die, I don't like the not having a choice about it. if that's my joke. So I'm taking, 8 years, to see if this will work, and 3 to 5 years left. Put 6 to 8 years into it, 3 to 5 years left. In 3 to 5 years, I might be an overnight success, and that's the plan. I'm glad to help. Emory, yes, I'm going to the Tampa one. The new guitar one is in the Hollywood. Thank you. Hollywood, Miami has the new guitar, shaped. It's fascinating appearance. Never seen a hotel shaped like that. Seen some interesting structures, in like Saudi Arabia and Dubai, but I haven't seen the guitar. Right. Wise Virgin. Is Valentine's weekend a good high volume play date? First off, not the weekend. And you asked this last time. It really is casino specific, right? I went to Derby City, yesterday, and it didn't have a Valentine's Day celebration. But then I went to, drove over to Red Mile, several hours away, and by golly, they had a huge event. and, sold out dinner. And I was there at noon and it was ramping up already. You can see people going around. So, outside of the major holidays, outside of the major sporting events that might be national, you need to see if your casino is doing it. And then Valentine's Day, how big could it ever possibly be? I wouldn't say it was a big weekend. I would say it was a big night. And a lot of these are big nights, like a busy Friday night, and then your opportunity is Saturday morning, but not Sunday morning. Sometimes they have something Saturday night too, which might mean that you would, go in like a big Friday night, big Saturday night, big Sunday night, and then every morning, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, Monday morning might be opportunities, but it's really about the night before, because the casinos really do track the number of people in the casino, and a lot of their financial performance naturally comes from that. And so they make adjustments for that. So I wouldn't say that Monday morning was a good time to go to a casino, which had a big event on Valentine's Friday. Just too far away. It's all over and done by then. Thanks, Maggie. Mark, Ohio. Mark, Ohio? Is your last name Ohio? Or are you from Ohio? You are from Ohio. Have you been to Miami Valley Gaming? Yes, I have. I have lots of thoughts on it. In fact, I've got some notes to update my article. So have you seen my article? Always takes me far too long to pull these things up. But if I were to quickly try to type and talk at the same time. Don't have. Oh, if I spelled Miami right, I might be able to find it faster. Right. My article is called Miami Valley Gaming Racetrack Casino Review in Southwestern Ohio. And I will put the link into the notes. So this is professors for the people on the podcast, professorslots.com/Miami-Valley-Gaming. And this is a Racino. It's a racetrack with slot machines, no table games, in southwestern Ohio. And this is, according to state gaming statistics for Ohio, if you're interested in that sort of thing. They got a couple things going on. They've got 4 major casinos, and the rest of them are racinos, which are slot machines at racetracks. And they have return statistics, not by slot machine denomination, but by casino. And Miami Valley has been fairly consistently the highest return, with 93% payout return statistics for the month, and with a theoretical payout limit, lower limit of 85% and no upper limit. Pennsylvania has a lower limit of 85% on a theoretical payout and is either 99.9% or 100% upper limit. So that really restricts the casinos, or can restrict the casinos depending on the wording. But if anybody has a particular question, answer those, having to do with each of these states and each of these slots communities. Everything here, except for a few things on the federal level having to do with definitions, everything is based on the state. What does the state gaming regulations say? And if it's tribal casinos, what does the tribal state compact say? If anything. And it's all over the board. You could wish for more consistency, but then you have a lot more options this way. So, it's a lot of variety. State law. Interesting stuff. Richard, all hotels mostly sold out for Cherokee. Sure. These are on, Cherokee, is run by Harrah's, as is the other one. What's the name of the other one? Cherokee Valley, and one's Cherokee, one's Cherokee Valley, both run by Harrah's, which is owned by Caesars, but, operated by Caesars, not owned. It's owned by, the tribe, for both. And they're on reservations. As with most tribal casinos, almost all tribal casinos, there's very few exceptions. Some Connecticut stuff where they're trying to, have a few sites off the reservation, are usually remote locations. That's kind of a fact of life. All the tribal casinos in California are remote. Now there's so many people in California these days that, cities, Los Angeles is huge. I flew over it for like 15 minutes of landing one time. And it's just a straight shot. It was kind of going slow, but nevertheless, it was just huge. And it's spread out so much that, the remote reservations near them are not actually that remote anymore. But generally tribal casinos are on remote locations. And why would they have a casino on tribal land? So like Orlando, 2 or 3 hours south. I think it's 3 hours south of Orlando is Seminole Brighton Casino that I was telling you about. And, it's pretty busy. Now, Mark, you asked about Miami Valley. I provided the article. Well, that was written last year. Some of the suggestions at the end of that article were, I think I should try that next time. And I should try this next time. And you'll know what I mean. And I went back, in January, was it 3 weeks ago? And tried them, and they work great. So if you were to, just to be specific here, some of the stuff that I provide, for the rest of you, as I do more and more reviews, I'm trying to figure out the best way to do reviews. The last 2 that I've gone to, I didn't really write it up. I have to maybe take a video right after I leave, and something where I don't have to drive 9 hours to get home and then go, what just happened? To capture the review properly, immediately after I do it. But, Mark, if you go to, in the front door, you go past the guard. On the left is the promotions counter, just to make sure we're entering from the right door. If you turn, you step forward like 20 steps and you look to the right. If you look to the right, there is, kind of like an avenue. All right. It's just slot machines everywhere, but there's like a wide path, and it ends in a kiosk. Ends in a carousel of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 8, slot machines in a circle, right? It's not a bank. It's a carousel, using terminology here. And if you're looking down that aisle, the one that's looking back at you, the slot machine where the face of it is looking back to you, there's one on this side and there's one on this side, slightly angled, right? It's the one on that side. It's the one to the right at the end of this long hall. It can be seen by everybody. I was advised last year that there was something called the Gold, and I didn't get a good description exactly which one of those 3 gold machines on that place, was on that carousel was the right one. So I played all 3, and I didn't really get to the 3rd one, which is the one on the right when you walk down towards it from the entrance. I did play that at the end of January, and by golly, that is a winner. So that's what you're looking for. Now, I played it for 2 hours with $200, and I made 2,810 points at $1 per point for Miami Valley, which is a pretty good bankroll cycle. I could have stopped at one point where I had like $500, but I really was there to spend it. Again, this is what I try to do, is to see, if you get a jackpot, should you take it and leave? Or what happens if you continue to play? Because that's also useful information. Sometimes it's just luck. Sometimes it's a casino business practice. And so I'll take $200 and I'll invest it in you guys. Which, in a couple of years, I wouldn't mind having back, by the way. But maybe I need to sell something worth $200. There's stuff that I have that's $200, but I haven't really put together an online course and some other things. But I'm not trying to advertise. The book is, not yet. Someday. The book here is no more than $20. I haven't decided on a price for the audiobook, but it's $15.95, $17.95, $16.95, depending if you get the ebook or the PDF on my website, or the audio, not the audiobook, but the, paperback, which is what I was just holding up from Amazon, depending where you get it, but it's all under $20, and, that doesn't, feed the cats at all. So, I'll offer something later when I put things together for that. I'm trying to do that this year. Last year, I was just trying to determine whether or not the stuff I talk about was super interesting or just was a bad idea. And it looks like it's super interesting. So this year, I'll work on stuff. Not exactly a pitch, but I would spend $200 at one of these sites and to do a review. And if I lose it in 5 minutes, it's hard to do a review. And if I double my money, triple my money, I don't just walk out, because I'm not there to win $20 or $100. I'm there to get you to win $100 or $20. And that means I have to find out what happens if I were to continue to play. Because if it's a business practice where you can play all day, then you need to know that. And the downside is I get to play slots a lot. a lot more than I probably would if I was just going for myself. So it's all good. Right. Right. Richard, I hope that you find, a hotel when you stay at Cherokee. I think it's probably busy because it's the weekend, not because Friday was, Valentine's Day. I wouldn't be surprised at all from the activity that I get from the North Carolina slots community, that it's busy. A lot of people are, active in that group for the number of people there. What else? You asked me questions. I'll think let's see, what can I think of? I'll keep an eye on the chat, but, if I think about questions being asked, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Washington, all pretty unique with their problems, but also, have hope. Have hope. Oh, yes. So I have a list. I put out an email today to our subscribers, our 2,176, 72, something like that. Subscribers. I've got a couple of suggestions on a new name for us, a new name for you. I had decided on slots enthusiasts because I felt that was pretty descriptive, but, wasn't very imaginative. How do you spell enthusiast anyway? So it has some, I have to figure out what you might like to be called. And I read some books and they said, you decide. You will come up with it without even being asked. And I thought, well, I'll probably bump and ask. So, Denise said SOS Club, slots of soul, something like that. Soul slots, MSPGA, the first of two from Wise Virgin, a little bit militant, which isn't going over with people. Making slots, MSPGA is the acronym. PGA sounds a little bit too much like golf. That's my minor concern on that. TX Tuxie, Jan, Smart Slot Souls, which, I like. I have a little bit of problem saying that 3 times fast, maybe with practice. Not a criticism, but we're brainstorming here. There's no wrong answer. Richard also suggested Slots Army for protecting the best strategies. I should figure out what the acronym is for that and see. We have Greener Pastures, who I didn't see today, has the One-Armed Bandit Brigade. And today I got 2 more. One from Sudan, Slot Hunters. And then, Jan had the Wizard Squad. Not sure what the wizard is, unless we're talking about Wizard of Oz. Pull back the curtain. Okay. So, Texas Tootsie, what do you advise if you are spending the night at a casino, but it doesn't look like people are winning? Is it a busy night? If it's a busy night and nobody's winning, that's worrisome. If nobody's there, then nobody's playing. So if somebody were to play, were they to win? That's 2 different situations. I don't know that I have anything more to add. If nobody's winning and it's a busy night, you might look around and confirm that, because how do you know, right? I hide that I win. I can't hide a hand pay, but I can hide $1,000 win by just, there's something called a roll up, and, counts the credits you won, and it could go for 10 minutes if you win a lot. I don't even get one little ping out of that. I press the button so quickly that I stop it, and then I quickly make my next bet because I'm just going. Save our souls. Thank you, Denise. Again, I'm letting myself be distracted. But, so if you go into a casino and it's busy and nobody's, winning, just see if they're winning a little bit, because how much do you really need to win? If there's no hand pays, that's worrisome, but maybe only if you're a high limit player. Right? Because then it means no jackpots. But if you are playing a penny machine and somebody's winning $500 all the time, that's not bad. So make sure which one it is. If nobody's winning, it's quiet. Would you see it? There's nobody playing. So no information is there. Okay. Let's see. Emery, is it worth a shot to try to play a slot machine that a person won a jackpot from? Absolutely. It's a winner. Right? What I like to do is play slot machines that show a win, particularly a big win. I cannot hurry over to that fast enough because there's this myth that people won on it. Therefore, the next person won't win. And I'm like, duh, it's quite possibly a winner. You know, have you ever won a jackpot on a machine? Ever won a jackpot on a machine? Like a spin on a wheel of fortune. You know, you make one more bet, right? Because these things come back to back. That's what you want to do. So yeah, test it out like you would. I wouldn't say, I'm going to throw my money at it. I would be your usual self. Check it out. See if it's a winner. Try the 5-pull method. Win in the first 5 pulls. Maybe you get something. It demonstrated being a winner. It's more information you got than the other ones where they don't show a win. Sorry, I don't mean to rant. Sunday makes exactly one week sense. So check that out because, again, this isn't about you being lucky. It isn't about what you want. It's about what the casino does and you taking advantage. So go back in, play through that time period. Sounds like you know about it, and see if that casino does that. In which case, that's your focus from now on. You find jackpots, yours, somebody else's, and then you go in a week later and you keep a calendar on that, and that's your go-to method, but only if that casino does it. And that's what you're checking. Okay. Save our souls, Denise. I won't forget. Greener Pastures, you are here. Denise, people don't like the emojis better than I do. You had a circle earlier and now you got a clap. Lois, great. And we are 2 minutes over. So, thank you, Larry. Thank you, Lois. Thank you, Denise. And I will talk to everybody later. Have fun. Be safe. Make good choices. Bye. Remember to visit ProfessorSlots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. This is the second segment of the show on slot machine casino gambling. Here I provide a brief overview of the current state of gambling in a U.S. state, territory, or the federal district, emphasizing by far anything of interest to slot machine casino gamblers. Up next is Louisiana slot machine casino gambling in 2020. Here goes. Louisiana slot machine casino gambling consists of 24 casinos, including 16 commercial casinos, 4 tribal casinos, 4 pari-mutuel racetracks with slot machines, and numerous small businesses across Louisiana. Theoretical payout limits exist for non-tribal sites, and monthly return statistics are available for the non-tribal sites. The minimum legal gambling age in Louisiana depends upon the gambling activity. For land-based casinos, poker rooms, and the lottery, it's 21. For bingo and pari-mutuel wagering, it's 18. Louisiana has had a long history of illegal casinos, with the state alternating between raiding illegal casino operations and ignoring them. Eventually, pari-mutuel wagering received statewide approval in the 1920s. The collapse of the state's oil-based industry in the 1980s led to the extended presence of legalized gambling. Louisiana was the 4th U.S. state to legalize riverboat casinos, approved by the state in 1991 along with the return of the state lottery. In 1992, an added provision allowed a land-based casino in New Orleans. Negotiations began in 1993 for state tribal compacts with Louisiana's 3 federally recognized American Indian tribes. A 4th American Indian tribe, federally recognized in 2002, also negotiated a state tribal compact. Each tribe opened their own tribal casino. In 1997, efforts by the 3 pari-mutuel racetracks to add slot machines to their facilities were successful. Later, a 4th track received similar approval. The gaming industry has become an important part of Louisiana's culture and economy. Video poker is the primary type of electronic gaming machine available. However, the wording used in some parts of the state gaming regulations is ambiguous. For example, a loose definition for truck stops has allowed the addition and spread of video poker machines at many businesses across the state. Next up is a usually short statement about slot machine private ownership, which I have included in case you live in this U.S. state and are considering owning a slot machine. Here it is. In Louisiana, it is legal to own a slot machine privately if it is 25 years old or older. The Louisiana Gaming Control Board regulates the gaming industry in Louisiana. The LGCB works closely with the State Enforcement Division within the Louisiana State Police. In this section, I'll discuss Louisiana gambling establishments. There are 20 non-tribal casinos, 4 American Indian tribal casinos, 4 pari-mutuel racetracks, and 12,903 video poker machines at 1,634 retail locations in Louisiana. The largest casino in Louisiana is Coshadi Casino Resort with 2,800 gaming machines and 70 table games. The second largest casino is Paragon Casino Resort with 2,200 gaming machines and 44 table games. The 20 commercial casinos in Louisiana include 15 riverboat casinos, 4 pari-mutuel sites with slot machines, and 1 land-based casino. As usual, when there are too many casinos to mention here, a complete list along with links to the websites, assuming they've set one up, is available on my website blog article for this state at professorslots.com/LA. The 4 tribal casinos in Louisiana are 1. Coshadi Casino Resort in Kinder, located 199 miles west of New Orleans. 2. Cypress Bayou Casino Hotel in Chariton, located 117 miles west of New Orleans. 3. Jenna Choctaw Pines Casino in Dry Prong, located 201 miles northwest of New Orleans. And 4. Paragon Casino Resort in Marksville, located 163 miles northwest of New Orleans. As an alternative to enjoying Louisiana slot machine casino gambling, consider exploring casino options in a nearby state. Bordering Louisiana is to the north, Arkansas, to the east, Mississippi, to the south, the Gulf of Mexico, and to the west, Texas. To visit any of my articles on these U.S. states, simply visit professorslots.com followed by its 2-letter postal designation. For example, my Arkansas slots article is available at professorslots.com/AR. Are you interested in sharing and learning with other slots enthusiasts in Louisiana? If so, join our Louisiana slots community on Facebook at professorslots.com/FBLA. All you'll need is a Facebook profile to join this private Facebook group freely. There you'll be able to privately share your slots experiences as well as chat with players about slots gambling in or near Louisiana. Again, use this convenient link I've created to go directly to our group on Facebook, professorslots.com/FBLA. Join us. Theoretical payout limits are 80% to 99.9% at non-tribal casinos, 80% to 94% for video poker machines at retail locations, and not available for tribal casinos. Monthly return statistics are within Louisiana's Gaming Enforcement Division, Gaming Board's revenue reports. Further, these reports offer return statistics for each slot machine denomination. However, statistics are provided for non-tribal casinos statewide, as well as within only 4 state regions with casinos sorted by region. These regions are Baton Rouge region with 4 casinos, Lake Charles region with 4 casinos, New Orleans region with 5 casinos, and Shreveport/Bossier region with 7 casinos. The October 2019 reports shows a statewide return of 90.3% for all commercial casinos. Each region had the following players' win percentages. Baton Rouge region, 90.2%. Lake Charles region, 90.6%. New Orleans region, 90.1%. And Shreveport-Bossier region, 90.3%. The slot machine denomination with the highest win percentages for each region were Baton Rouge region, 50-cent machines at 97.9%. Lake Charles region, $100 machines at 95.1%. New Orleans region, $500 machines at 120.8%. By the way, that means that there was a big win. Shreveport-Bossier region, $25 machines at 93.2%. And statewide, $500 denomination machines mentioned at 120.8%. These reports helpfully include the number of slot machines with each denomination. For instance, there are only 8 $2 denomination machines in the Baton Rouge region, where their average play win percent is the second highest for that region. So few $2 slot machines improves the likelihood of locating and playing these high-odd machines. Less helpful are the limited monthly return statistics available from the Louisiana Gaming Board's revenue reports separated by casino type. Unfortunately, these return statistics reports have insufficient information to calculate player win percentages. In summary, Louisiana slot machine casino gambling consists of 24 casinos, including 16 riverboat casinos, 4 tribal casinos, and 4 pari-mutuel racetracks with slot machines. Further, there are nearly 13,000 video poker machines at over 1,500 retail location businesses legal across the state. Minimum and maximum theoretical payout limits exist for the non-tribal gaming locations. Return statistics exist for commercial casinos in 4 state regions, including for each slot machine denomination. Louisiana's tribal casinos do not have theoretical payout limits, nor do they offer return statistics. In the last year, Harrah's New Orleans went from second largest casino to 7th place, when they more than halved their slot machines from 3,800 to 1,500. Remember to visit ProfessorSlots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. Part 1 of the next episode of the Professor Slots podcast is not yet determined. Remember, my weekly Q&A session on YouTube is on Saturdays from 2 p.m. until 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Bring whatever slots questions you have, and I'll do my best to answer them. An easy-to-remember link to my YouTube channel is ProfessorSlots.com/live. Feel free to stop by anytime during my hour-long Q&A. To suggest a topic or ask a question which might end up as a blog article or on a podcast episode, email it to john@ProfessorSlots.com, where John is spelled Jon. Part 2 of the next episode of this Professor Slots podcast is another brief overview of the current state of gambling in a U.S. state, territory, or the federal district. Next time, I'll be talking to you about the great U.S. state of Maine. That's the end of another great episode of the Professor Slots podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Show notes for this episode are now available within most podcast apps, but are also available on my website at ProfessorSlots.com/episode 78. I plan to have the next episode come out very soon for you, where I'll have more amazing content for the show. Until the next episode, have fun, be safe, and make good choices. Bye.